They shoved her face first into the frozen food aisle like she was nothing. Cuffs bit into her wrists. A boot pressed between her shoulder blades. She didn't scream, didn't beg, just went still, the kind of still that comes before something breaks wide open. The officers laughed. One of them reached down and yanked her ID badge off her scrubs. "Nurse, huh? Guess saving lives don't mean shit when you're stealing, does it?" She wasn't stealing, but they didn't care. What they didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that 15 years ago, Claire Whitaker didn't wear scrubs. She wore desert camo and carried a sidearm in places where one wrong move meant a body bag. She'd stitched up soldiers under mortar fire, made life-or-death calls in 30 seconds, and reported directly to people whose names never made the news. And the second those cuffs clicked shut, that part of her, quiet, buried, patient, woke up. If you want to see how far one mistake can unravel an entire system, stay with me until the end. Drop a comment with the city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The supermarket smelled like disinfectant and overripe produce. Claire Whitaker moved through the aisles with the same efficiency she brought to everything. Minimal steps, maximum result. Her shift at Riverside General had bled into 16 hours. Her scrubs still had a faint coffee stain from the ER break room. She just needed eggs, bread, maybe something that didn't come out of a vending machine. She picked up a carton of eggs, checked the date, set it in her basket, moved toward the register. That's when she felt it. Eyes. Heavy. Deliberate. She glanced up. 2 officers near the entrance. One older, balding, with a gut that strained against his uniform. The other younger, wiry, with a smirk that looked practiced. They weren't shopping. They were watching. Claire kept moving. She'd learned a long time ago not to give people a reason. But the younger one stepped into her path. "Excuse me, ma'am." His voice had that edge, polite on the surface, sharp underneath. "Mind if we check your bag?" Claire stopped, looked at him. "I haven't paid yet." "That's the point," he grinned. "Loss prevention flagged you." She blinked. "Flagged me for what?" "Suspicion of theft." The older officer moved in from the side, casual, like this was routine. "Just cooperate, and we'll get this sorted." Claire's pulse stayed even. She set the basket down slowly. "I'm happy to cooperate, but I haven't stolen anything." "Then you won't mind us looking." She did mind, but she also knew how this worked. You push back, they escalate. You stay calm, maybe it ends quiet. She opened her purse, handed it over. The younger officer dug through it like he was searching for evidence in a crime scene. Wallet, keys, chapstick, a crumpled grocery list. He pulled out her hospital ID, squinted at it. "Nurse, huh?" "That's right." He tossed it back in, kept digging. Then he pulled out a pack of gum, unopened, still in the wrapper, held it up like it was a smoking gun. "This got a receipt?" Claire's jaw tightened. "I bought that 3 days ago. It's been in my bag." "Sure it has." "Check the date on the receipt if you want. It's in my wallet." The older officer stepped closer. His breath smelled like coffee and something sour. "You're getting real defensive for someone who's got nothing to hide." "I'm not defensive. I'm tired. And I'm telling you the truth." The younger one leaned in. "Here's the thing, ma'am. We've had a lot of theft in this area. A lot. And you fit the profile." Claire's voice stayed flat. "What profile is that?" He didn't answer, just smiled. She saw it then. The decision had already been made. This wasn't about evidence. It was about control. "Turn around," the older officer said. "Excuse me?" "Turn around, hands behind your back." Her stomach dropped. "You're arresting me?" "You're being detained pending investigation." "For a pack of gum I already paid for?" "For suspected theft and failure to comply." The younger officer grabbed her wrist. She pulled back on instinct, not hard, just enough to keep her space, and that was all they needed. "Resisting!" he barked. The older one moved fast, grabbed her other arm, wrenched it behind her back. Pain shot through her shoulder. She gasped. "Stop! Stop resisting!" They slammed her forward. Her ribs hit the edge of a shopping cart. The eggs in her basket exploded across the floor. Yolk spread in a slow yellow pool. People stared. No one moved. The cuffs went on. Too tight. Metal digging into bone. "You're making a mistake," Claire said, voice shaking now. "Yeah? Well, you made one first." They walked her out through the automatic doors, fluorescent lights, stairs, whispers. A kid with a phone recording everything until his mom yanked his arm down. Outside, the squad car sat under a street lamp. The younger officer opened the back door, put a hand on her head, shoved her inside. She hit the seat hard. The door slammed. Through the window, she saw them laughing. The older one reached up and tapped something on his vest. A small camera. The red light blinked off. Claire watched it happen. Watched him turn to his partner and nod. Evidence erased, just like that. The car pulled away from the lot. Claire sat in the back, wrists burning, mind running through scenarios she hadn't touched in over a decade. The city blurred past the window, neon signs, closed storefronts, a bus stop where a man slept under cardboard. The younger officer glanced back at her through the mesh divider. "You know what I love about this job?" She didn't answer. "People think we're the bad guys, but we're just doing what nobody else wants to do, cleaning up the trash." The older one chuckled. "She's not trash, man. She's a nurse. Respectable." Was respectable. Now she's just another case number. Claire kept her face blank. Let them talk. Let them think she was scared. She wasn't scared. She was cataloging. Badge numbers. Names stitched on uniforms. The route they were taking. The cross streets. The time. The way they talked like this was routine. Like they'd done it before. They had. She could see it in the way they moved. The way they didn't hesitate. The way the older one had reached for that camera without even thinking. This was a pattern. A system. And she'd just walked into the middle of it. Mutt. The precinct smelled like burnt coffee and old sweat. They walked her through booking like she was a career criminal. Fingerprints, mugshot, personal effects logged into a plastic bin. Whitaker Claire, age 47, occupation, nurse. The booking officer didn't look up, just typed. Charges, theft, resisting arrest, obstruction. I didn't resist anything. Says here you did. Then it's a lie. He finally looked at her, bored eyes, pale skin, a coffee stain on his collar. You want to make this harder on yourself? She didn't answer. They put her in a holding cell, concrete bench, fluorescent hum, a toilet in the corner with no seat. The door clanged shut. Claire sat down, breathed, focused. This wasn't her first time in a cage, just a different kind. She'd spent 3 weeks in a makeshift holding area outside Kandahar once. Cement walls, heat that cooked you from the inside. Waiting for transport that kept getting delayed because of mortar fire. She'd passed the time by memorizing the guard rotations, the supply schedules, the radio chatter she could hear through the vents. Old habits. She looked around the cell now, took inventory. Camera in the corner, lens cracked, no red light. Vent near the ceiling, rusted screws. Door hinges on the outside, but the frame was old, loose. She wasn't planning to escape, but she was planning. An hour later, voices drifted down the hallway. Told you we should have just let her go? And I told you to shut up and follow procedure? This isn't procedure. This is what we do. Same as always. Write it up. File it. Done. Claire stood, moved closer to the bars. 2 officers walked past. Not the ones who arrested her. Different. One was older, gray at the temples, deep lines around his mouth. The other was younger, couldn't have been more than 25. The younger one looked uncomfortable. I'm just saying, the younger one muttered, if someone pulls the footage, there is no footage. But if there is no footage. The older officer stopped, turned, looked the kid dead in the eye. You understand me? The younger one swallowed, nodded. They kept walking. Claire filed it away. Another piece. She sat back down, closed her eyes, ran through the timeline in her head. Arrested at 7:43 p.m., booked at 8:20 p.m., placed in holding at 8:35 p.m. No phone call offered, no lawyer mentioned, no Miranda rights read. They were cutting corners, skipping steps, which meant either they were sloppy or they didn't think it mattered. She was betting on the latter. 2 hours later, the older officer from the arrest came back, stood outside the bars, arms crossed. Comfortable? She didn't respond. You know what's funny? He leaned against the wall. People like you think the rules protect you, but the rules are whatever we say they are. Claire looked at him, really looked. Late 50s, wedding ring with a scratch across the band. shoes scuffed at the heels. A man who'd been doing this long enough to stop caring. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. He laughed. "Do what? My job?" "Lie." His smile faded. "Careful." "I'm just saying, there's still time to fix this." "Fix what? You stole, you resisted. It's all in the report." "The report you haven't written yet." His eyes narrowed. "You think you're smart. I think you're scared." He stepped closer to the bars. "Of what?" "Of what happens when someone checks." For a second, just a second, something flickered across his face. Then it was gone. "Nobody's checking." He turned to leave. "Nobody ever does." Claire watched him walk away, listened to his footsteps fade. She believed him. In a place like this, with a system like this, nobody checked. Nobody cared. That's how it worked. But she also knew something he didn't. Someone was already checking. They just didn't know it yet. 3 hours later, Claire was pulled out of the cell and brought to an interrogation room. No windows. One table, 2 chairs. A camera in the corner with a red light that wasn't on. The older officer sat across from her, folder in front of him, pen tapping. "Here's how this goes," he said. "You sign a statement saying you took the gum. Plead guilty to a misdemeanor. Pay a fine. Walk out tonight." Claire folded her hands. Or we add resisting arrest, assaulting an officer. Maybe toss in a few priors we find in the system. "I don't have priors." He smiled. "You will." She stared at him. Let the silence stretch. He leaned forward. "Let me tell you something, nurse. You're nobody. You've got no lawyer, no witnesses, no proof. You've got a mugshot and a report that says you're a thief. So you can either take the deal, or you can spend the next 6 months in county waiting for a trial you'll lose." Claire's voice didn't rise, didn't shake. "I want my phone call," he laughed. "You already had it." "No, I didn't." "Says here you refused." "That's another lie." He stood up, closed the folder. "Suit yourself." The door opened. Another officer stepped in. Younger than the first two, different look in his eyes, nervous, pale, sweating even though the room was cold. He didn't say anything, just motioned for the older officer to step outside. They left Claire alone. She sat in the silence, listened. Through the door, muffled voices. "Can't keep doing this. She's nobody. Relax. Cameras are off again. If someone checks..." "Nobody's checking. I told you." "Martinez is asking questions. Martinez doesn't know shit, and he's not going to... What if he goes to IA? Then we handle Martinez too." The voices dropped lower. Claire couldn't make out the rest, but she didn't need to. Martinez, internal affairs, questions. There was a crack in the system, small, but it was there. The door opened again. The nervous officer stepped in alone, closed it behind him. He looked at her for a long moment. His hand trembled slightly as he pulled a phone from his pocket. "You've got 2 minutes," he said quietly. "Make it count." Claire took the phone, hand steady. She dialed a number she hadn't used in 8 years, a number that didn't exist in any directory, a number that connected to a desk in a building with no name. It rang once. A voice answered, low, calm, no greeting. "Whitaker?" "It's me." Pause. Background noise. Keyboards. Radio chatter. "Where are you?" "Precinct 18, Riverside, Jefferson City. Status? Detained, false charges, multiple violations. They're running a pattern." Another pause. Longer this time. She could hear him thinking, calculating. "You sure?" "Positive. Cameras disabled. Reports falsified. Coercion. This isn't isolated." "How deep?" "Deep enough that they're not worried about consequences." The voice on the other end exhaled. "Sit tight. Don't sign anything. Don't say anything." "How long?" 48 hours, maybe less. "And if they move me before that?" "They won't." "How can you be sure?" "Because I'm making a call right now that's going to freeze every transfer order in that building. You're a federal asset. They just don't know it yet." The line went dead. Claire set the phone down. The nervous officer, Martinez she assumed, took it back, slipped it into his pocket. His hand was still shaking. "You didn't see me," he said. "I know." "If they find out, They won't. He looked at her, really looked. What are you? She didn't answer. He left. Claire leaned back in the chair, closed her eyes, let her heart rate drop back to normal. 48 hours. She'd done worse. She'd spent 72 hours in a collapsed building in Mosul once, trapped under rubble with a shattered femur and a soldier who was bleeding out. She'd kept him alive by talking. Just talking. Telling him about her childhood, about her dog, about the stupid movies she liked. Anything to keep him conscious until they dug them out. 48 hours in a holding cell was nothing, but she also knew they wouldn't wait that long. She was right. 6 hours later, the older officer came back. Different energy this time. Tense, jaw tight, eyes harder than before. Change of plans, he said. You're being transferred. Claire's eyes opened. Transferred where? County, tonight. On what grounds? Safety concern. Whose safety? He didn't answer, just motioned to two other officers waiting outside. Let's go. They walked her through the precinct, past desks cluttered with files and cold coffee, past officers who didn't look up, who kept their eyes on their screens like they'd been trained to ignore whatever was happening 3 feet away, past a hallway where she saw Martinez standing near a water cooler, staring at the floor, hands balled into fists. He didn't look at her, but his jaw was clenched so hard she could see the muscle twitching. The exit door opened. Night air. Cold. Sharp. A transport van idling at the curb, exhaust pooling in the streetlight. They were moving her. Disappearing her into a system where people got lost all the time. Where files went missing and phone calls never got made, and families spent years trying to find someone who'd been swallowed whole. Claire's pulse kicked up for the first time since this started. But then, headlights. Bright. Close. Moving fast. 3 black SUVs pulled into the lot, tires screeching. Doors flew open before the vehicles even stopped. Armed figures stepped out, tactical vests, rifles, federal insignia stamped across their chests in white block letters. Federal agents, nobody move. The officers froze. The older one reached for his radio. A rifle swung toward him, red laser dot settling on his chest. Hands where I can see them, now. He raised them, slow, face draining of color. More agents poured out of the SUVs. 8, 10, 12. They moved like a machine, coordinated, precise, no wasted motion. 2 went straight for the precinct doors. 4 surrounded the van. The rest formed a perimeter. An agent in a tactical vest stepped forward, eyes locked on Claire. 40-something, shaved head, scar across his jawline. Claire Whitaker? She nodded. You're coming with us. He pulled a key from his belt. The cuffs came off. She rubbed her wrists, deep red marks where the metal had bitten in. She could feel the blood rushing back into her hands. The older officer found his voice. What the hell is this? The agent didn't even glance at him. You'll find out soon enough. You can't just... We can. We are. Step back. Another agent moved in, younger, crisp uniform, badge clipped to his belt. He pulled a document from inside his vest, unfolded it, held it up. Federal warrant. This precinct is now under investigation for civil rights violations, evidence tampering, conspiracy, and abuse of authority. All personnel are ordered to remain on site. All files, devices, and records are to be preserved. Anyone who attempts to leave or destroy evidence will be arrested. The older officer's face went from white to gray. You don't have the authority. We do. The agent folded the warrant, slid it back into his vest. You're about to see exactly how much. Claire was escorted to one of the SUVs. The door shut behind her. Leather seats, tinted windows. The kind of vehicle that didn't exist in public records. Through the glass, she watched as the precinct doors burst open again. More agents flooding in, radios crackling, voices sharp and clipped. Officers were pulled from desks and pushed against walls, hands behind their backs, faces slack with shock. She saw Martinez. He wasn't being cuffed. He was standing with 2 agents, talking fast, gesturing toward a computer terminal. One of the agents nodded, pulled out a tablet, started taking notes. Whistleblower. Good. The older officer who'd arrested her was on his knees now, hands zip-tied behind his back, mouth moving but no sound coming out. His partner, the younger one, was sitting on the curb, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. The SUV pulled away. Smooth, quiet, the kind of engine that purred instead of roared. Claire sat back, let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. The agent in the front passenger seat turned around, same one who'd unlocked her cuffs. "You okay?" She nodded. "Good." He handed her a bottle of water. "You're going to need to debrief, soon, but first we're getting you somewhere safe." "Where?" "Federal building downtown. You'll be there until we sort this out." "How long?" "However long it takes." He glanced at her wrists. "You need medical?" "I'm fine." "You sure? You took some hits back there." Claire looked down at her ribs. Bruised, sore, nothing broken. "I've had worse." The agent studied her for a moment, then nodded, turned back around. The city blurred past the window, streetlights, empty intersections. A world that kept moving while everything inside her had just shifted into a gear she hadn't used in years. She caught her reflection in the glass. Same face, same eyes. But something had changed. They'd woken something up. Something that didn't go back to sleep. Oh, see. The federal building was all concrete and glass. Security checkpoints. Cameras everywhere. ID scanners. The kind of place where nothing happened without someone knowing about it. They took her to the 4th floor, a quiet hallway, unmarked doors. The agent led her into a small office, desk, 2 chairs, a window overlooking the city. "Wait here," he said. "Someone will be in to talk to you." He left. The door clicked shut. Claire sat down, rubbed her wrists again. The marks were already starting to bruise. She looked out the window. The precinct was 12 blocks away. She couldn't see it from here, but she knew it was burning. Not literally, but close enough. By morning, every officer in that building would be suspended. By the end of the week, half of them would be arrested. By the end of the month, the whole structure would collapse. And it all started because they thought she was nobody. The door opened. A woman stepped in. 50s. Sharp suit, short gray hair, eyes that had seen too much and forgotten nothing. She sat down across from Claire, set a folder on the desk. Didn't open it. "Ms. Whitaker, I'm Deputy Director Karen Vasquez, Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division." Claire nodded. Vasquez leaned back, studied her. "You've had a long night." "I've had longer." "I'm sure you have." Vasquez tapped the folder. "I've read your file, all of it. The parts that are still classified and the parts that aren't. You've done a lot of good work." "That was a long time ago." "Good work doesn't expire." Vasquez opened the folder, pulled out a single page, set it in front of Claire. "This is the report filed by the officers who arrested you tonight. According to this, you stole merchandise, resisted arrest, and assaulted an officer." Claire looked at it, didn't touch it. "That's a lie." "I know." Vasquez pulled out another page. "This is the surveillance footage from the grocery store, or rather, the request for it. The store's system shows the footage was deleted 20 minutes after you were arrested, remotely, from an IP address registered to Precinct 18. Claire's jaw tightened. "They erased it." "They tried." Vasquez pulled out a third page. "But the store uses a cloud backup system. We recovered everything. You didn't steal anything. You didn't resist. And you sure as hell didn't assault anyone." She slid a still image across the desk. Claire in the aisle, hands up, officers grabbing her, slamming her into the cart. "That's evidence of assault," Vasquez said. "Against you." Claire looked at the image, felt something cold settle in her chest. "How many others?" she asked quietly. Vasquez hesitated, then pulled out another sheet, a list, names, dates, charges. 43 cases in the last 2 years, all from Precinct 18, all following the same pattern: false arrests, evidence tampering, coerced confessions. Most of them pled out because they didn't have the resources to fight. The ones who did fight lost because the system was rigged. Claire scanned the list, saw names she didn't recognize, people she'd never meet, lives destroyed because someone decided the rules didn't apply. "Why me?" she asked. Vasquez looked at her. "Wrong place, wrong time, and you didn't fold." "Neither did they." "No. But you had a number to call." "They didn't." Claire set the list down. "What happens now?" "Now?" Vasquez leaned forward. Now we tear the whole thing down. Every officer involved, every supervisor who looked the other way, every official who signed off on it. We're filing federal charges, civil rights violations, conspiracy, obstruction, and we're using your case as the cornerstone. You want me to testify? I want you to bury them. Claire didn't answer right away. She looked out the window again. Thought about the people on that list. Thought about the ones who weren't on it, the ones who gave up, the ones who didn't survive. When do we start? She said. Vasquez smiled. We already have. By dawn, the news was everywhere. Federal raid on Jefferson City precinct. Corruption scandal. Officers arrested. The footage hit the networks by 6 a.m. Not the grocery store footage, not yet. But the raid. The agents storming the building. Officers in cuffs. The public affairs officer standing in front of microphones. Face tight, reading from a prepared statement. The Department of Justice has launched a comprehensive investigation into allegations of systemic misconduct within Precinct 18. Multiple officers have been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of this investigation. We take these allegations seriously and are committed to transparency and accountability. The words meant nothing, but the images did. By 8 a.m., the grocery store footage leaked. Someone inside the investigation, maybe Martinez, maybe someone else, sent it to every major outlet. Claire on the ground, eggs everywhere, officers laughing, the city exploded. Protests outside the precinct by noon, reporters camped on the steps, city council calling emergency meetings, the mayor's office scrambling to get ahead of it. But they couldn't, because this wasn't just about one nurse in a grocery store. This was about every person who'd ever been told to sit down and shut up, every person who'd been erased by a system that didn't see them as human. And now that system was on fire. Claire watched it all from the federal building. Vasquez kept her there for safety, for her own protection, they said, but also because she was the key witness, the one who could tie it all together. She gave her statement. 16 pages, every detail, every word, every moment from the grocery store to the holding cell to the interrogation room. She didn't exaggerate, didn't embellish, just told the truth, and the truth was enough. 3 days later, the first charges dropped. Officer Raymond Colfax, Officer Daniel Ruiz, Sergeant Mark Brennan, civil rights violations, conspiracy to obstruct justice, falsification of records, assault under color of authority, bail set at $500,000 each. None of them made it. By the end of the week, 12 more officers were arrested, 2 supervisors, a deputy chief. The dominoes were falling, but Claire knew it wasn't over, because the people at the top, the ones who built the system, who profited from it, they were still out there, still protected, still dangerous. Vasquez came to see her on the 5th day. We found something, she said. Claire looked up from the coffee she'd been nursing. What? Vasquez set a laptop on the table, opened it, pulled up a file. Financial records. Precinct 18 had a discretionary fund supposed to be for equipment, training, community outreach. But the money was going somewhere else. She clicked through spreadsheets, transfers, deposits, shell companies. They were running a protection racket. Businesses paid them to look the other way. People paid them to drop charges. It wasn't just about power. It was about profit. Claire stared at the screen, numbers blurring together, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. How high does it go? Vasquez met her eyes. Higher than we thought. She clicked one more time. A name appeared. Police Chief Ronald Marsh. Claire's stomach dropped. He knew? He ran it. The room went quiet. Vasquez closed the laptop. We're going after him, but we need more. We need someone on the inside to flip. Someone close enough to have proof. Martinez? He's helping, but he's low level. We need someone higher, someone who kept records. Claire thought for a moment. The booking officer. Vasquez looked at her. The one who processed you. Yeah, he looked bored, but he was typing everything. Every word, every detail. If he's been doing that for years... Vasquez pulled out her phone, made a call. Get me everything on the booking officer, night shift, precinct 18. She hung up, looked at Claire. Good catch. Claire shrugged. I pay attention. I noticed. 2 hours later, they had him. Officer Leonard Hayes. 22 years on the force, clean record, quiet, kept his head down. But he'd been keeping records, personal records. Every arrest, every discrepancy, every time something didn't add up. He didn't know why. Just habit, just caution. And now it was the key to everything. They brought him in. Vasquez did the interview herself. Claire watched from behind the glass. Hayes sat at the table, hands folded, looking like a man who'd been waiting for this moment for years. "I knew something was wrong," he said quietly. "I just didn't know what to do about it." Vasquez slid a document across the table. "Immunity agreement. You do this, you testify, you give us everything, you walk. No charges, clean slate." Hayes looked at the paper, then at Vasquez. "And them? They burn." He picked up the pen, signed, and just like that, the walls came down. Hayes gave them everything. Names, dates, amounts, conversations he'd overheard, orders he'd been given, files he'd been told to alter. He gave them the chief, the deputy chief, 3 captains, a city councilman. He gave them the whole machine. Vasquez came out of the interview room with a folder 3 inches thick. She looked at Claire through the glass, smiled. "We got him." The arrest came fast after that. Chief Marsh was taken into custody at his home. 6 a.m., federal agents, cameras rolling. He didn't say a word, just stared at the ground while they read him his rights. The deputy chief tried to run, made it as far as the airport before they grabbed him at the gate. The councilman tried to lawyer up, claimed immunity, claimed he didn't know. The evidence said otherwise. By the end of the second week, 27 people had been arrested. Officers, officials, business owners who'd paid into the system. The city was reeling. But Claire wasn't done, because there were still 43 names on that list. 43 people whose lives had been destroyed, and she wanted them cleared. Vasquez made it happen. Every case reviewed, every charge dismissed, every record expunged. It took 3 months, but one by one, the letters went out. "Your case has been overturned. Your record has been cleared. We apologize for the injustice you suffered." Some of them cried. Some of them didn't believe it. Some of them had moved on and didn't want to look back. But they were free, and that mattered. Claire stood in Vasquez's office the day the last letter went out. "It's done," Vasquez said. Claire nodded. "What about the precinct?" "Shut down, permanently. The building's being converted into a community center. The officers who weren't involved have been reassigned. The ones who were..." She paused. "They're going away for a long time." "Good." Vasquez looked at her. "You did this." "No, Martinez did this. Hayes did this. You did this. You started it." Claire shook her head. "I just didn't let them win." Vasquez smiled. "That's all it takes sometimes." Claire left the federal building that night for the first time in weeks, stepped out into the cold air. The city was the same streets, same lights, same people moving through their lives. But something had shifted. She walked to her car, got in, sat there for a moment. Her phone buzzed, a text from a number she didn't recognize. "Thank you." She stared at it, didn't know who sent it, didn't need to. She started the engine, drove home. The apartment was quiet, dark, exactly how she'd left it. She dropped her keys on the counter, looked around. Same walls, same furniture, same life. But she wasn't the same. She'd spent 15 years trying to leave the past behind, trying to be normal, trying to forget. And in one night, it all came back. Not the violence, not the chaos, the clarity, the purpose, the knowledge that some things are worth fighting for. She sat down on the couch, let the silence settle around her. Tomorrow she'd go back to work, back to the ER, back to saving lives, one shift at a time. But tonight, she let herself feel it, the weight of what she'd done, the cost of what she'd started, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that somewhere out there, 43 people were sleeping a little easier, because someone finally fought back and won. But the quiet didn't last. 3 days after she returned to Riverside General, Claire was pulling a double in the ER when a man in an expensive suit walked through the automatic doors. He didn't check in at triage, didn't wait, just walked straight to the nurse's station like he owned the place. Claire looked up from a chart. "Sir, you need to sign in." "Claire Whitaker?" She set the chart down. "Who's asking?" He pulled out a business card, slid it across the counter. Embossed letters. Heavy stock. Marcus Delroy, attorney at law. I represent several parties who have a vested interest in the recent events surrounding Precinct 18. Claire glanced at the card, didn't touch it. I've already given my statement. I'm not here about your statement. He smiled, polished, professional, the kind of smile that costs money to perfect. I'm here to offer you an opportunity. I'm working. This won't take long. He leaned against the counter. My clients are concerned. The federal investigation has created a lot of uncertainty, a lot of damage, not just to the officers involved, but to the entire law enforcement community in Jefferson City. Claire crossed her arms. That's not my problem. Isn't it? His smile thinned. You're the face of this case, the hero nurse who took down the corrupt cops. Very compelling, very media-friendly, but also very divisive. Get to the point. My clients would like to offer you a settlement, a generous one, enough to retire comfortably, move somewhere quiet, start over. In exchange for what? Your silence. He straightened his tie. You drop any civil suits, you stop talking to the press. You let this fade away. Claire stared at him. You're trying to buy me off. I'm offering you a way out. This case is going to drag on for years. Depositions, testimonies, media scrutiny, it'll consume your life. My clients want to spare you that burden. How generous. It is. He pulled out a folded paper, set it next to the card. 7 figures, tax-free. All you have to do is sign. Claire picked up the paper, unfolded it, scanned the numbers, then she tore it in half. Get out. His smile vanished. Miss Whitaker, I said get out. He picked up his card, slipped it back into his pocket. You're making a mistake. No, you are. He turned, walked toward the exit, stopped at the door. They're not going to let this go, he said without turning around. You think you won, but you just started a war you can't finish. Try me. He left. Claire dropped the torn paper in the trash, went back to work. But the knot in her stomach didn't go away. That night her car wouldn't start. She turned the key. Nothing. Not even a click. She popped the hood, checked the battery. Connections looked fine. She tried again. Dead. A security guard walked over. Need a jump? Maybe. Or a new battery. He pulled his truck around, hooked up the cables. She tried the ignition. Still nothing. That's weird, he muttered. Should have caught by now. Claire got out, looked under the hood again. That's when she saw it. A wire. Cut clean, deliberately. Her pulse kicked up. What is it? The guard asked. She closed the hood. I'll call a tow. Thanks for trying. He drove off. Claire stood in the parking lot, scanning the shadows. The lot was half empty. Cameras pointed at the building, not the cars. Someone had been here. Someone had sent a message. She pulled out her phone, dialed Vasquez. It's Claire. I think I have a problem. Vasquez sent 2 agents to her apartment that night. They swept the place, found a listening device in the smoke detector, another in the outlet behind her couch. How long have these been here? Claire asked. The younger agent checked the model. Couple days, maybe a week. Can you trace them? We can try, but these are commercial grade. Could have been bought anywhere. Vasquez arrived an hour later, looked at the devices bagged on the table. Someone's watching you. I figured. Any idea who? Claire told her about the lawyer, the offer, the threat. Vasquez's jaw tightened. Marcus Delroy. He's a fixer. Works for people who don't want their names attached to things. Like who? Like the people who profited from Precinct 18, the ones we haven't arrested yet. She sat down. We knew this would happen. We just didn't think they'd move this fast. What do I do? You stay visible, stay public. Make it harder for them to touch you. And if they don't care about that? Vasquez met her eyes. Then we make sure you're protected. Yeah. Protection came in the form of Agent David Torres. Mid-30s, quiet, observant, the kind of guy who noticed everything and said nothing. He showed up at her apartment the next morning with a duffel bag and a thermos of coffee. I'll be staying close, he said. Not in your space, but close enough. How close? Hallway, parking lot? Wherever you go, I go. Claire didn't argue. She'd seen enough to know when someone was serious. Torres followed her to work. Sat in the ER waiting room with a magazine he never read. Watched everyone who came through the doors. At first, people asked questions. Security wanted to know who he was. Nurses thought he was a patient. Claire brushed it off, said he was a friend. Nobody pushed, but she could feel the weight of it, the eyes, the whispers. People knew something was wrong. What? The first envelope showed up 3 days later. Slipped under her apartment door. No postage, no return address. Inside, a single photo. Claire leaving the hospital, taken from across the street, zoomed in, clear, nothing else. No note, no threat, just the photo. She handed it to Torres. He bagged it, called it in. They're escalating, he said. No kidding. You need to take this seriously. I am. Are you? He looked at her. Because you're still going to work, still keeping your routine, still acting like this is normal. What do you want me to do? Hide. I want you to be smart. Claire's temper flared. I've been smart my whole life. That's how I survived places you've never been. Don't tell me how to handle myself. Torres didn't flinch. I'm not questioning your capabilities. I'm questioning your judgment. You think this is like whatever you did overseas. It's not. These people don't follow rules. They don't have codes. They just want you gone. She stared at him. He stared back. Finally, she looked away. What do you suggest? Let me do my job and stop pretending you're invincible. The second envelope came 2 days later. Same delivery method, same lack of signature. This time, photos of her coworkers. Leaving the hospital, getting into cars, walking to the parking garage. The message was clear. They could get to anyone. Claire sat on her couch, staring at the images spread across the coffee table. Faces she saw every day. People who had nothing to do with any of this. Torres stood by the window. We need to move you. No. Claire, if I run, they win. And everyone around me is still at risk. If you stay, you're the target. Good. Let me be the target. At least then I know where they're aiming. He shook his head. That's not how this works. Then make it work. She looked up at him. You said you'd protect me. So protect me. But I'm not hiding. Torres exhaled, pulled out his phone, made a call. 10 minutes later, Vasquez was on speakerphone. We can put a detail on your coworkers, she said. Discreet, they won't even know. For how long? As long as it takes. Claire closed her eyes. This is insane. Yeah, it is, but you're the one who started it. I didn't start anything. They did. And now they're trying to finish it. So we either shut them down or we let them win. Your call. Claire looked at the photos again. Thought about the people in them. Good people. Tired people. People just trying to get through their shifts and go home. Put the detail on them, she said. But don't tell them why. I don't want them scared. Done. The line went dead. Torres sat down across from her. You know this is going to get worse before it gets better. I know. And you're still not backing down. No. He almost smiled. You're either really brave or really stupid. Can't it be both? The trial date was set for 6 weeks out. Federal Courthouse, Judge Carolyn Brenner presiding. Media circus guaranteed. Vasquez called Claire in for prep. 3 days of it. Mock testimony, cross-examination drills, every possible angle the defense might use. They're going to attack your credibility, Vasquez said. They'll dig into your past, your service record, anything they can use to make you look unstable. My record is clean. Your record is classified. And they're going to use that. They'll say you're hiding something, that you can't be trusted. Claire leaned back. So what do I do? You tell the truth. You stay calm. You don't take the bait. That's it? That's everything. Vasquez slid a folder across the table. This is what they have. We got it through discovery. Take a look. Claire opened it, skimmed the pages. Service dates, deployment locations, medical records. A psychiatric evaluation from 15 years ago after a particularly rough tour. Her stomach tightened. They're going to bring this up? They're going to try, but will object. PTSD screenings are standard. They don't prove instability. What if the judge allows it? Then you own it. You say yes, you saw things. Yes, you got help. Yes, you're fine now. You don't let them turn it into a weapon. Claire closed the folder. I hate this. I know, but you're good at it. You don't crack under pressure. That's why they're scared. The preliminary hearing started 2 weeks before the trial. Motions to dismiss. Motions to suppress evidence. Defense attorneys throwing everything at the wall to see what stuck. Claire sat in the gallery, watched the lawyers argue, watched the judge shut them down one by one. Chief Marsh sat at the defense table in a gray suit, looking smaller than she remembered. His lawyer, a sharp woman with a briefcase that probably cost more than Claire's car, whispered in his ear constantly. During a recess, Marsh looked back at the gallery. His eyes landed on Claire. He didn't look angry, he looked tired. She held his gaze, didn't blink, didn't look away. He turned back around. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Ms. Whitaker, how do you feel about the charges? Do you think justice will be served? Are you afraid of retaliation? Torres guided her through the crowd, didn't let her stop, got her into the SUV and pulled away before the questions could follow. You handled that well, he said. I didn't say anything. Exactly. That night, Claire couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment. The grocery store, the precinct, the interrogation room, the lawyer, the photos, the trial prep. It felt like drowning in slow motion. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You should have taken the deal. She sat up, showed it to Torres, who was sitting in the hallway outside her door. He took the phone, traced the number. Burner? Untraceable. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. No, they're trying to scare you. It's working. He handed the phone back. You want to stop? No? Then ignore it. They want a reaction. Don't give them one. Claire deleted the text, turned off her phone, lay back down. But sleep didn't come. The break came from an unexpected place. Hayes, the booking officer who'd flipped, reached out to Vasquez with something new. I remembered something, he said during a meeting Claire sat in on. There was a guy, used to come by the precinct every few months, never in uniform, always in a suit. He'd meet with the chief, closed-door meetings, no logs. You remember his name? Vasquez asked. No, but I remember his car, black Mercedes, vanity plate, something like Capital or Capital. I can't remember exactly. Vasquez made a note. Anything else? He carried a briefcase, same one every time. Leather, expensive, had initials on it, RT. RT, Vasquez repeated. You sure? Positive. I noticed because my dad had the same initials, Richard Thomas Hayes. Vasquez's expression shifted. She pulled out her phone, typed something, waited. A photo popped up. She turned the screen toward Hayes. This him? Hayes squinted, nodded. Yeah, that's him. Vasquez looked at Claire. We just found the top. The photo was of Robert Tillman, city councilman, former police union president, current chairman of the Public Safety Committee, the man who controlled the budget, the policies, the oversight, the man who'd built the system from the ground up. Tillman was arrested at a charity gala, black tie event, cameras everywhere. Federal agents walked in during the silent auction, found him at a table with the mayor, 2 judges, and a state senator. Robert Tillman, you're under arrest for conspiracy, racketeering, and obstruction of justice. The room went silent. Tillman stood slowly, smiled. This is a mistake. No, sir, this is a warrant. The agent held it up. You're coming with us. They cuffed him, walked him out through a crowd of stunned donors and flashing cameras. The footage hit the news within minutes. By morning, the scandal had exploded into something bigger than anyone anticipated. Tillman wasn't just connected to Precinct 18. He had ties to 3 other precincts, to the district attorney's office, to the mayor's inner circle. The system wasn't broken. It was designed this way, and Claire had just kicked over the first domino. So, Vasquez called her in the next day. We need you to testify against Tillman. I never met him. Doesn't matter. You're the catalyst. The jury needs to see the human cost. They need to understand this wasn't abstract corruption. It was people, lives, you. Claire hesitated. When? 3 weeks. His arraignment is next Monday. Trial's expedited. Federal judge wants this fast-tracked. Why that? Because the longer it drags out, the more people start to forget. And Tillman has enough money and connections to make people forget. Claire nodded. Okay, I'll do it. Good. Vasquez paused. How are you holding up? I'm fine. You're not, but I appreciate the effort. That night, Claire went to the grocery store, the same one where it all started. Torres tried to stop her. That's not smart. I need milk. I'll get it. No, I'm going. He followed her inside, stayed close, watched every person in every aisle. Claire walked through the store like she used to, normal, routine, just another person buying groceries. But when she got to the frozen food section, the spot where they'd slammed her down, she stopped. The floor was clean. No trace of what had happened. Like it never existed. But she remembered. Every second. She grabbed the milk, checked out, walked to her car. Torres scanned the parking lot. Clear. She got in. Started the engine. It worked this time. She sat there for a moment, hands on the wheel, breathing. You okay? Torres asked from the passenger seat. Yeah. You sure? She looked at him. They tried to erase me, tried to make me disappear, but I'm still here. He nodded. Yeah, you are. She pulled out of the lot, drove home. But halfway there, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then she did. Hello? Silence. Then a voice, low, cold. You should have stayed down. The line went dead. Claire's hands tightened on the wheel. Torres was already on his radio. We've got another contact. Trace initiated. But Claire wasn't listening, because she'd recognized the voice. It wasn't Delroy. It wasn't Tillman. It was the older officer, the one who'd arrested her, Colfax, the one who was supposed to be in jail. She pulled over, turned to Torres. Check his status. Now. Torres made the call, waited. His face went pale. He posted bail 2 hours ago. Claire's blood went cold. How? Anonymous benefactor, posted the full amount in cash. She stared out the windshield, mind racing. Colfax was out. Someone had paid to free him, and now he was calling her. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. And whoever was behind this wasn't just trying to scare her anymore. They were coming for her. Torres had her back at the federal building within 20 minutes. Every light was on. Agents moved through hallways with purpose. Vasquez met them at the security checkpoint, already in tactical mode. Colfax isn't just out, she said, walking fast. He's in the wind. Ankle monitor was cut 15 minutes after he left the courthouse. We've got units searching, but he knows how to disappear. Claire followed her into a conference room, maps on the wall, photos, timelines. This wasn't new. They'd been tracking something bigger. How much danger am I in? Claire asked. Vasquez didn't sugarcoat it. Enough that we're moving you tonight. Safe house. Full security detail. For how long? Until we find him. Or until the trial. That's 3 weeks. I'm aware. Claire sat down. Her hands were steady, but her mind was sprinting through scenarios. Colfax wasn't stupid. He'd been a cop for 20 years. He knew surveillance, knew patterns, knew how to hunt. What about my job? She asked. You're taking leave. I have patience. Your patience will survive without you. You might not survive without protection. Vasquez leaned against the table. Look, I get it. You don't want to hide, but this isn't about pride anymore. Colfax called you directly. That means he's past the point of intimidation. He wants you gone. Torres spoke up from the doorway. We pulled his financials. Someone deposited $50,000 into his wife's account 3 days ago. Offshore transfer, untraceable. Payment for services rendered, Vasquez muttered. They bought him out of jail and now he's their weapon. Claire's jaw tightened. So what's the play? We use you as bait. The room went quiet. Torres stepped forward. That's not the plan we discussed. Plans change. Vasquez looked at Claire. You want to end this? We draw him out. Controlled environment. Our terms. We get him. We flip him. We find out who's paying. And if he doesn't flip, then we put him away for attempted murder and keep digging. Claire processed it. Every instinct from her old life kicked in. The calculation. The risk assessment. The understanding that sometimes the only way out is through. What do you need from me? She said. Torres shook his head. This is insane. It's the only move that makes sense, Vasquez shot back. They're escalating. We escalate harder. By putting her in the crosshairs? She's already there. At least this way we control the shot. Claire stood. I'll do it. Torres looked at her like she'd lost her mind. You don't have to. Yeah, I do. She met his eyes. Because if I don't, someone else dies. Maybe one of my coworkers. Maybe someone who was on that list of 43. I'm not letting that happen. Vasquez nodded. We move tomorrow night. Location still being scouted. You'll wear a wire. Armed backup within 30 seconds. First sign of trouble, we pull you. And if he doesn't show, then we wait. And we try again. They took her to a safe house in the suburbs. 2-story colonial, quiet street. Agents rotated shifts every 6 hours. Torres stayed on permanently. Claire spent the day going over the plan, memorizing routes, exits, safe words. The wire was smaller than she expected, sewn into the lining of a jacket, nearly invisible. Test it, the tech said. She spoke. Check. Her voice came through the speakers clear. Good. Don't touch it. Don't adjust it. If it shifts, let it shift. We'll still hear you. That night, she sat in the living room while agents moved around upstairs. Torres brought her coffee. You don't have to do this, he said again. You keep saying that. Because it's true. She sipped the coffee. It was bad. Burnt. When I was overseas, we had a saying, you can't outrun a bullet, but you can make sure it hits the right target. This isn't a war zone, isn't it? She set the cup down. Feels like one. He sat across from her. What if it goes wrong? It won't. How do you know? Because I won't let it. He almost smiled. You're either the bravest person I've ever met or the most stubborn. Still can't be both? This time he did smile. Yeah, it can. The location was a parking garage downtown. 4 levels. Surveillance cameras on every floor. Sniper positions on adjacent rooftops. Undercover units and vehicles scattered throughout. Claire arrived at 9 p.m. Alone. No visible backup, just her and the wire. She parked on the 3rd level. Got out. Walked toward the stairwell like she'd been instructed. Her heartbeat was loud in her ears, but her breathing stayed even. Old training, old muscle memory. She reached the stairwell, stopped, waited, silence, then footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Colfax stepped out from behind a concrete pillar. He looked different, thinner, unshaven, eyes harder than she remembered. You came, he said. You called. He moved closer, hands in his pockets. I didn't think you would. Why not? Because you're smart, and this is stupid. Claire kept her distance. 3 car lengths, enough space to react. What do you want? I want you to disappear. Not going to happen. It will. One way or another. Her pulse stayed steady. You threatening me? I'm giving you a choice. Walk away. Drop the case. Leave the city. I'll make sure you're safe. Safe from who? You? From everyone. He pulled his hands out of his pockets. Empty. You don't know what you've started. The people you're going after, they don't lose. They don't forgive. You think the feds can protect you? They can't. Not forever. Claire took a small step forward. Who paid your bail? Does it matter? It does to me. He smiled, bitter. You really don't get it. This isn't about right and wrong. It's about power, and you don't have any. I have enough. No, you have a microphone. That's it. And the second they decide you're more trouble than you're worth, that microphone disappears. Along with you. Claire's voice didn't waver. Is that why you're here? To make me disappear? Colfax stared at her, long, hard. Then he shook his head. I'm here to warn you. Last chance. Walk away. Or what? Or I stop being the warning. The words hung in the air. Then Colfax's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. His expression shifted, tightened. Who is it? Claire asked. He didn't answer, just looked up, around, like he'd just realized something. This is a setup, he said quietly. Yeah. His hand moved toward his waistband. Don't, Claire said. He froze. Hands where I can see them, she continued. Slow. He raised them, but his eyes were scanning the garage, looking for the backup he knew was there. Torres stepped out from behind a van, gun drawn. On the ground, now. Colfax didn't move. You're making a mistake. The only mistake was yours, Torres said. Get down. More agents emerged, surrounding him, rifles up. Colfax looked at Claire one last time. They're going to kill you. You know that, right? Let them try. He dropped to his knees, hands behind his head. They cuffed him, read him his rights, walked him toward the exit. Claire stood there, breathing, heart pounding now that it was over. Vasquez appeared at her side. You okay? Yeah. Good work. He said something. What? He said they'd kill me, not hurt me, not scare me. Kill me. Vasquez's expression darkened. He's trying to rattle you. Maybe. Or maybe he knows something we don't. Eat. They brought Colfax back to the federal building, put him in an interrogation room, let him sit for 2 hours. Standard procedure. Let the silence do the work. Claire watched from behind the glass. He didn't fidget, didn't pace, just sat, staring at the table. He's not going to crack, Torres said. He will, Vasquez replied. They always do. She went in, sat across from him, folder on the table, didn't open it. You're looking at 30 years, she said. Minimum. Conspiracy, attempted intimidation of a federal witness, and that's before we add whatever else we find. Colfax didn't look up. I want a lawyer. You'll get one. But before that, I want to give you a chance. To what? Flip? To survive. That got his attention. He looked up. Vasquez leaned forward. You think the people who paid your bail are going to protect you? They're not. You're a loose end now, and loose ends get cut. I'm not talking. Then you're going to die in prison, or worse, you're going to die before you get there. Colfax's jaw tightened. You don't know what you're dealing with. So tell me, he laughed. Hollow. You really think I'm stupid enough to talk? I think you're smart enough to know when you're beaten. I'm not beaten. I'm just delayed. Vasquez slid a photo across the table. Tillman at the gala, being arrested. Your boss is gone. His boss is next. The system you protected, it's collapsing. You can go down with it, or you can save yourself. Colfax stared at the photo. Something flickered across his face. Fear, doubt. What do you want? He asked quietly. Names, dates, who paid your bail, who gave the orders. And if I give you that? Witness protection, new identity, clean slate. He was silent for a long time, then he spoke. It's bigger than Tillman. Vasquez didn't react. How big? State level? Maybe federal? Who? Colfax looked at the camera in the corner, then back at Vasquez. I need guarantees. You'll get them. But I need something first, proof you're serious. He exhaled, rubbed his face. There's a meeting, tomorrow night. Warehouse on the east side. Tillman's people are regrouping, trying to figure out damage control. You're invited? I was, before you grabbed me. Vasquez's mind was already working. Who else will be there? Delroy, the lawyer, a couple city councilmen, maybe a judge. Which judge? I don't know. They don't tell me everything. Vasquez stood. You're going to wear a wire. You're going to that meeting, and you're going to get us everything. Colfax shook his head. They'll check me. Not if we do this right. What? The plan came together in 6 hours. Colfax would go in wired. Backup teams positioned around the warehouse. Audio and video surveillance. The second they had enough, they'd move in. Claire wasn't part of the operation. Vasquez made that clear. You've done enough, she said. Let us handle this. But Claire couldn't sit still. She paced the safe house, watched the clock, listened to Torres on the phone coordinating logistics. What if it's a trap, she asked. It could be, he admitted. But Colfax knows if he screws us, he's done. He's got more to lose than we do. That's not comforting. It's not supposed to be. At 10 p.m., the operation started. Claire sat in front of a laptop streaming the audio feed. Colfax's voice came through patchy at first, then clearer. Told you I'd make it. Wasn't sure after your arrest. Feds don't have shit. Multiple voices. Hard to distinguish. Claire listened, took notes, names, references. Then one voice cut through, smooth, calm, Delroy. We have a problem. The nurse. She's not backing down. So handle it, another voice said. Rough. Unfamiliar. We tried. She's protected. Then we removed the protection. Claire's blood went cold. Torres was already on the radio. All units stand by. Possible threat escalation. Delroy's voice continued. There's a federal agent, Torres. He's been glued to her for weeks. If we eliminate him, she's exposed. Too risky, someone else said. Not if we make it look like an accident. Claire stood. They're planning to kill Torres. Torres looked at her. I heard. We need to pull you out. Not yet. We need more. Screw more. They just put a target on your back. Claire. No. She grabbed his arm. You're done. You're out. Vasquez's voice came over the radio. Hold positions. Do not move until we have confirmation. But Claire wasn't listening. She was already pulling Torres toward the door. That's when the gunfire started. Not at the warehouse, at the safe house. Windows shattered. Bullets tore through walls. Claire hit the ground. Torres covered her. Agents returned fire from the front room. How did they find us? Someone shouted. Claire's mind raced. The wire, Colfax, the meeting. It was a trap. Not for the feds, for her. They'd used Colfax to locate her, and now they were here to finish it. Torres dragged her toward the back door. Move! They ran. Out into the backyard, over the fence, into the alley. Behind them, the gunfire intensified. They made it to a vehicle parked 2 blocks away. Torres radioed for backup. Claire's ears were ringing. Her hands shook. We need to get you out of the city, Torres said, starting the engine. No. Claire, they just tried to kill me in a federal safe house. Running won't stop them. It'll just delay it. Then what do you suggest? She looked at him. We end this. Tonight. How? We go to the warehouse, we finish what we started. Torres stared at her. That's suicide. Maybe. Or maybe it's the only way they don't expect. He hesitated. Then he made a call. Vasquez, change of plans. Ted. The warehouse was chaos when they arrived. Federal units swarming, arrests happening in real time. Delroy in cuffs, 2 councilmen on the ground, a judge being read his rights. But Claire wasn't looking at them. She was looking at the man standing in the center. Hands up, smiling. Robert Tillman. He wasn't supposed to be there. He was supposed to be in custody. Vasquez saw him at the same time. How the hell? Bail, Tillman said calmly. Posted an hour ago. I'm a free man. Not for long, Vasquez replied. Actually, yes. For long. He gestured to a man in a suit beside him. This is my attorney. Federal judge signed an order. All charges dropped. Insufficient evidence. Vasquez's face went white. That's not possible. It is when you know the right people. Claire stepped forward. You're not walking. Tillman looked at her. Really looked. And who's going to stop me? You? If I have to. He laughed. You're a nurse. You save lives. You don't end them. Try me. The smile faded. You have no idea what you're up against. I know exactly what I'm up against. A coward who hides behind power because he's got nothing else. Tillman's eyes narrowed. Careful. Or what? You'll have me killed? You already tried. Didn't work. Next time it will. There won't be a next time. Vasquez stepped between them. Mr. Tillman, you may have gotten charges dropped, but this investigation isn't over. We will find something. And when we do, you'll find nothing, he interrupted. Because there's nothing to find. I'm clean, always have been. He turned to leave. Claire's voice stopped him. You missed something. He turned back. What? She pulled out her phone, played a recording. His voice, clear. Eliminate the protection and she's exposed. His face changed. Where did you get that? He demanded. Doesn't matter. What matters is it's already uploaded. Cloud storage, multiple backups. You touch me, it goes public. You touch anyone I care about, it goes public. You breathe wrong, it goes public. Tillman stared at her, fury in his eyes. You're bluffing. Am I? Vasquez pulled out her phone, showed him the screen, the file, uploaded, time-stamped. She's not, Vasquez said. Tillman's lawyer whispered something in his ear. He shook his head. This isn't over, he said. Yeah, Claire replied. It is. Federal agents moved in, rearrested him on new charges, conspiracy to commit murder. The recording was enough. Tillman was dragged away, still smiling, still defiant. But he was gone. Claire stood there, shaking, not from fear, from relief. Torres put a hand on her shoulder. You okay? Yeah. Vasquez approached. That recording, where did you actually get it? Claire looked at her. Colfax's wire. I recorded the feed. That's not admissible. I know, but he doesn't. Vasquez almost laughed. You just bluffed a city councilman with inadmissible evidence. Worked, didn't it? This time. Next time you might not be so lucky. There won't be a next time. Vasquez's phone buzzed. She answered, listened. Her face went pale. What? Claire asked. Vasquez hung up. The judge who signed Tillman's release, he just resigned. Effective immediately. Why? Because someone leaked his financials, offshore accounts, payments from the same source that paid Colfax's bail. Claire's stomach dropped. Who leaked it? Vasquez looked at her. We don't know, but whoever it was just handed us everything we need. Torres's radio crackled. A voice came through. We've got movement. Black SUV heading toward the federal building. Who's inside? Torres asked. Unknown, but they're moving fast. Claire and Torres exchanged looks. We need to go, he said. They ran. The SUV was already at the federal building when they arrived, parked at an angle, doors open, empty. Torres had his weapon drawn before Claire could process what she was seeing. Agents poured out of the building entrance, securing the perimeter. No shots fired, no struggle. Just an abandoned vehicle sitting under the streetlights like a question mark. Check the plates, Torres ordered. An agent ran them, came back 30 seconds later. Registered to a shell company, same one that paid Colfax's bail. Claire's chest tightened. They're inside. Building's locked down, Vasquez said, arriving behind them. Nobody gets in or out without clearance. Then they're already in. Vasquez pulled her radio. All floors, sound off. Any unauthorized personnel, report immediately. Static. Then responses. Floor by floor. All clear, all clear, all clear. Until the fourth floor. We've got a situation. Conference room B. Doors locked from the inside. Wasn't locked 10 minutes ago. Vasquez was moving before the transmission ended. Claire and Torres followed. Up the stairs, down the hallway, agents stacked outside the conference room door. Who's inside? Vasquez asked. Unknown. No visual. Blinds are down. She knocked. Federal agents? Open the door. Silence. She nodded to the nearest agent. He pulled a battering ram from a duffel bag, positioned, swung. The door splintered open. The room was empty. Just a table, chairs, and a laptop sitting open in the center, playing a video. Claire stepped closer. The screen showed a courtroom, live feed, Judge Brenner's courtroom, the one where Tillman's trial was supposed to happen, except the trial wasn't in 3 weeks anymore. It was happening now. What the hell? Torres muttered. On screen, Judge Brenner sat at the bench, lawyers at their tables, a jury in the box, but no defendant. Tillman's chair was empty. The judge spoke, audio crackling through the laptop speakers. Given the new evidence submitted this evening and the defendant's failure to appear, I'm issuing a bench warrant for Robert Tillman's immediate arrest. Bail is revoked. All assets are frozen pending investigation. The gavel struck. Claire stared at the screen. Someone moved up the trial, without telling anyone. Not just anyone, Vasquez said quietly. She pointed at the laptop. A file icon sat on the desktop, labeled simply, for Claire. Torres reached for it. Vasquez stopped him. Don't. Could be rigged. Or it could be answers. Claire stepped forward, clicked it. A document opened. Financial records. Hundreds of pages. Transactions. Offshore accounts. Names she recognized. Names she didn't. But at the top, highlighted in yellow, one name stood out. Governor Raymond Cross. The room went silent. "That's not possible," Vasquez whispered. But the documents didn't lie. Payments from Cross to Tillman, from Tillman to Precinct 18, from the precinct to shell companies. A pipeline of money flowing from the state capitol all the way down to street-level corruption. "This is bigger than we thought," Torres said. Claire kept scrolling. Found emails. Dated going back 5 years. Cross-coordinating with Tillman. Discussing quotas. Arrests. Revenue streams. They turned law enforcement into a business, and the governor had been the CEO. "We need to move on this now," Vasquez said, already pulling out her phone. "Wait," Claire pointed at the screen. Another file. Video format. She clicked it. Footage appeared. Security camera. Grainy. Time-stamped 3 hours ago. It showed Governor Cross in his office. Pacing, on the phone. His voice came through distorted but clear enough. "Don't care what it takes. The nurse is the problem. Remove her, and this all goes away." Another voice. Muffled. "She's protected." Then unprotect her. "I don't pay you to give me excuses." The video cut off. Claire's hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. "He ordered the hit on the safe house," she said. Vasquez was already dialing. "I need a direct line to the FBI director, now." Within the hour, federal marshals were en route to the governor's mansion. Warrants signed, charges filed, conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, obstruction of justice. Claire watched it unfold from the operations center. Screens everywhere showing live feeds, the governor's mansion, the courthouse. Precinct 18, now swarming with forensic teams. "Who leaked the files?" she asked. Vasquez shook her head. "We don't know. Whoever it was covered their tracks, used encrypted routing, bounced the signal through 12 countries. We might never find out. But they're on our side." "For now?" Vasquez turned to her. "You understand what this means, right? We just implicated a sitting governor. This is going to explode." "Good. Let it explode." Torres approached with a tablet. "You need to see this." He pulled up a news site. The headline was already live. Governor Cross linked to statewide corruption scandal. Below it, leaked documents, the same ones from the laptop. Someone had sent them to every major outlet simultaneously. "It's everywhere," Torres said. "Cable news, social media, international press. There's no burying this." Claire read the article, saw her name mentioned, saw the grocery store footage embedded, saw quotes from Vasquez, from Hayes, from victims on the list. The story wasn't just about corruption anymore. It was about the system, about power, about what happens when ordinary people refuse to stay down. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You're welcome." She stared at it, showed Torres. "Same person who leaked the files," he said. "Who are they?" "Someone with access. Someone who wanted this exposed but couldn't do it themselves." Claire thought about it. Ran through possibilities. Martinez. Hayes. Someone inside the governor's office. Then it hit her. "It's the judge," she said. "Which one?" "The one who resigned. The one who signed Tillman's release." She pulled up the news article about his resignation. Read it again. "He quit the same day the files leaked. That's not a coincidence." Vasquez considered it. He had access to financial records, court documents, sealed evidence, and a guilty conscience, Claire added. He was part of the system, but maybe he wanted out. Or maybe he wanted to save himself before it all collapsed. "Does it matter?" Vasquez smiled slightly. "No, I guess it doesn't." Sad. Governor Cross was arrested at 3 a.m. Live footage showed marshals escorting him out of the mansion in handcuffs. No jacket, no tie. Just a wrinkled shirt and the look of a man who'd run out of moves. Reporters swarmed, cameras flashing, questions shouted. "Governor, did you order the attack on Claire Whitaker? How deep does the corruption go? Will you resign?" He said nothing, just stared straight ahead as they loaded him into a vehicle. By morning, the state capitol was in chaos. Legislators calling for investigations. The lieutenant governor refusing to comment. Protesters gathering on the steps demanding accountability. Claire watched it all from the federal building. She hadn't slept, couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the safe house, the bullets, the shattered glass. Torres brought her coffee. "You should rest." "I'm fine." "You're not, but I get it." She took the coffee. It was still bad, still burnt. She drank it anyway. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now? Trials, lots of them. Cross, Tillman, Colfax, Delroy, every officer we arrested. It's going to take months, maybe years." "And me?" "You testify, over and over, until it's done." Claire nodded. She'd known that was coming. "When's the first one?" "Tillman, 2 weeks. Judge moved it up after the new evidence." "Fast. They want to capitalize on the momentum. Strike while the public's paying attention." Claire set the coffee down. "I need to go home." Torres hesitated. "It's still not safe." "It's never going to be completely safe, but I can't live in a federal building forever." He pulled out his phone, made a call, hung up. "Vasquez is assigning a permanent detail. 2 agents, round the clock, non-negotiable." "For how long?" "Until the trials are over, maybe longer." She didn't argue. She was tired of arguing. Plump. They took her back to her apartment. It looked the same, felt different, like walking into a memory of someone else's life. The agents swept it, found nothing, set up in the hallway. Claire locked the door, stood in the living room, looked around. Everything was exactly where she'd left it. Coffee cup in the sink, mail on the counter, a jacket draped over the chair. Normal. Mundane. Safe. Except it wasn't. Not anymore. She sat on the couch, pulled out her phone, scrolled through messages. Most were from reporters, requests for interviews. Offers to tell her story. She deleted them all. One message stood out. From a blocked number. "They're not done. Be careful." She stared at it, typed a response. "Who is this?" No answer. She set the phone down, leaned back, closed her eyes. Sleep didn't come. The next 2 weeks blurred together. Prep sessions with Vasquez, mock cross-examinations, reviewing evidence, going over timelines. Claire returned to work on a limited basis. 4-hour shifts, ER only. The hospital assigned extra security, patients asked questions, coworkers congratulated her. Some looked at her differently, like she was fragile or dangerous. She ignored it, focused on the work. One afternoon, a woman approached her near the nurses' station. Older, thin, nervous. "Are you Claire Whitaker?" Claire turned. "Yes." The woman hesitated, then pulled a photo from her purse, handed it to Claire. It showed a young man, early 20s, smiling. "That's my son, Marcus. He was arrested by Precinct 18 3 years ago. Resisting arrest, they said. He died in custody. They called it suicide." Claire's stomach tightened. "I'm sorry." "He didn't kill himself. I know he didn't. But nobody would listen. Nobody cared." Tears welled in the woman's eyes. "Until you." Claire didn't know what to say. The woman took the photo back. "I just wanted to say thank you for not giving up, for making them listen." She walked away before Claire could respond. Torres appeared at her side. "You okay?" Claire watched the woman disappear around the corner. "Yeah." But she wasn't, because the weight of it was sinking in. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about Marcus, about the 43 names on the list, about everyone the system had crushed and forgotten. And if she didn't finish this, their stories would disappear too. Tillman's trial started on a Tuesday. The courthouse was packed. Media vans lined the street. Protesters on one side, police union supporters on the other. Claire arrived through a back entrance. Flanked by agents, escorted to a private room, Vasquez met her there. "You ready?" "As I'll ever be." "Remember, stick to the facts. Don't let them rattle you. If you don't know something, say so. Don't guess." Claire nodded. They walked her to the courtroom. The gallery was full. She saw faces she recognized. Hayes, Martinez, other officers who'd flipped, reporters, victims' families. And sitting at the defense table, Robert Tillman. Expensive suit, calm expression, like this was just another day. He looked at her as she walked past, smiled. She didn't smile back. The prosecution called her to the stand. She was sworn in, sat down. The lead prosecutor was a woman named Sarah Kellerman. Sharp, precise, no wasted words. Ms. Whitaker, can you describe the events of the evening you were arrested? Claire did, step by step. The grocery store, the officers, the false charges, the precinct, every detail. Kellerman walked her through it, slow, methodical, letting the jury absorb each moment. Then she introduced evidence, the surveillance footage, the deleted files, the recovery, the body cam footage that had been turned off. Ms. Whitaker, in your professional opinion, was proper protocol followed during your arrest? No. Can you elaborate? I wasn't read my rights. I wasn't offered a phone call. I was physically assaulted without cause. Evidence was destroyed. Reports were falsified. And you believe this was intentional? I know it was. Kellerman paused. How do you know? Because I heard them in the precinct talking about it, about how they'd done it before, about how nobody checks. Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Tillman's lawyer stood. Objection. Hearsay. Your Honor, this goes to the defendant's knowledge and involvement in a systemic pattern, Kellerman countered. Judge Brenner considered. I'll allow it, but tread carefully, counselor. Kellerman turned back to Claire. What did you hear, specifically? Claire recounted the conversation, the voices, the phrases, the casual way they discussed erasing her. The jury was riveted. When Kellerman finished, Tillman's lawyer stood for cross-examination. His name was Vincent Harper. Expensive, connected, the kind of lawyer who made careers out of reasonable doubt. Ms. Whitaker, you claim to have heard conversations about systemic corruption, but you have no recordings, no witnesses, just your word. That's correct. And you expect this jury to believe that a decorated public servant like Mr. Tillman orchestrated this conspiracy based solely on your recollection? I expect them to look at the evidence, the financial records, the emails, the payments. Harper smiled. We'll get to that. But first, let's talk about you. Claire's pulse quickened. You were a military medic, correct? Yes. Deployed to combat zones, saw significant trauma. Yes. And after your service, you underwent psychiatric evaluation for post-traumatic stress. Kellerman stood. Objection, relevance. Your Honor, this goes to the witness's credibility and state of mind, Harper said. Brenner looked at Claire, then at Harper. I'll allow it, but make your point quickly. Harper turned back to Claire. You were diagnosed with PTSD, weren't you? I was screened, standard procedure. But you were diagnosed. I was given a preliminary assessment. I sought help. I got better. Did you? He pulled out a document. According to your medical records, you experienced hypervigilance, anxiety, and intrusive thoughts. Claire's jaw tightened. That was 15 years ago. But it explains why you might misinterpret a routine arrest as something sinister, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. You're under stress, you're tired, officers are doing their job, and your mind, shaped by trauma, sees a conspiracy. That's not what happened, isn't it? Harper leaned on the witness box. You claim officers turned off their cameras, but maybe they malfunctioned. You claim you heard conversations, but maybe you misheard. You claim this was intentional, but maybe you're just wrong. Claire stared at him, voice steady. I'm not wrong. How can you be sure? Because I know what corruption looks like, and I know what it sounds like, and I know when someone's lying to my face. Harper stepped back. No further questions. Claire left the stand, hand steady, heart pounding. Vasquez met her outside the courtroom. You did great. He made me sound crazy. He tried, but the jury saw through it, trust me. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Witness after witness, financial experts, forensic analysts, Hayes, Martinez, Colfax, who testified in exchange for his deal. The defense fought hard, challenged every piece of evidence, called character witnesses for Tillman, painted him as a dedicated public servant caught in a witch hunt. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they came back, the courtroom was silent. On the charge of conspiracy to violate civil rights, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of racketeering? Guilty. On the charge of obstruction of justice? Guilty. Tillman didn't react. just stared straight ahead. The judge set sentencing for 2 weeks. Claire sat in the gallery, listening, feeling the weight lift slightly, but not completely, because Cross's trial was next, and that one would be bigger, uglier. Sentencing day came fast. The courtroom was packed again. Tillman stood as Judge Brenner read the sentence. Mr. Tillman? You abused your position of power. You corrupted a system meant to protect people. You caused immeasurable harm, and you showed no remorse. I hereby sentence you to 35 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole. The gavel struck. Tillman was led away, still silent, still expressionless. Claire watched him go, felt something close to closure, but then Vasquez appeared at her side, face tight. We have a problem. What now? Cross's lawyer just filed a motion. He's claiming the evidence was obtained illegally, that the laptop at the federal building was planted, that the whole case is fruit of the poisonous tree. Claire's chest tightened. Can he do that? He can try, and if the judge agrees, everything gets thrown out. When's the hearing? Tomorrow. The hearing was closed, just lawyers. The judge. No jury, no media. Claire wasn't allowed inside. She sat in the hallway, waiting. Torres sat beside her. It's going to be okay. You don't know that. No, but I choose to believe it. An hour passed, then 2. Finally, the door opened. Vasquez stepped out. Her face was unreadable. Well? Claire asked. Vasquez exhaled. The judge denied the motion. Evidence stands. Trial proceeds. Relief flooded through Claire. But there's something else, Vasquez continued. The judge wants to see you, privately. Claire's stomach dropped. Why? I don't know, but it's not optional. Judge Brenner's chambers were small, books lining the walls, a desk covered in files. The judge sat behind it, looking older than she had in the courtroom. Sit, she said. Claire sat. Brenner studied her for a long moment. Do you know who I am, Ms. Whitaker? You're the judge. Before that, Claire shook her head. Brenner pulled a photo from her desk, slid it across. It showed a younger woman in a police uniform, smiling, proud. Claire looked closer, recognized the face. It was Brenner. I was a cop, Brenner said. 20 years, worked my way up, made detective. Thought I was making a difference. She paused, pulled the photo back. Then I saw what you saw. The corruption, the lies, the system protecting itself. And I had a choice. Stay and be part of it, or leave and fight it a different way. You became a judge. I did. Because I thought I could do more good from the bench than I ever could with a badge. She looked at Claire. You remind me of myself, stubborn, relentless, willing to burn bridges if it means standing up for what's right. I don't feel relentless. I feel tired. Good. That means you're human. Brenner leaned forward. I'm telling you this because you need to understand something. This trial, Cross's trial, it's not just about him. It's about whether the system can actually hold powerful people accountable. If he walks, everything you've done means nothing. He won't walk. You don't know that. He's got resources, connections. He'll fight dirty. So will I. Brenner smiled slightly. I believe you, but be careful. People like Cross don't lose gracefully, and when they fall, they take others with them. Claire stood. Is that all? One more thing. Brenner opened a drawer, pulled out an envelope, handed it to Claire. What is this? Open it when you're alone. Claire waited until she was back in her apartment. Agents in the hallway. Doors locked. She opened the envelope. Inside, a single piece of paper, handwritten. It read, The governor isn't the top. Follow the money higher. No signature. Claire's hands trembled. She pulled out her laptop, opened the financial files, started tracing, payments to Cross. From where? She dug deeper. Found transfers from a federal account, Department of Homeland Security. Her blood went cold. Someone in the federal government had been funding the whole operation, and they were still out there. Claire stared at the screen until her vision blurred. Department of Homeland Security, federal account, transfers spanning 7 years, millions of dollars funneled through shell companies, laundered through state programs, and distributed to precincts across 3 states. This wasn't just Jefferson City. This was a blueprint. She grabbed her phone, dialed Vasquez. "It's late," Vasquez answered, voice thick with sleep. "It goes higher. Federal level. DHS." Silence. Then rustling. Vasquez was up. "Send me what you have." Claire forwarded the files, heard typing on the other end. "Jesus," Vasquez breathed. "Who else knows about this?" "Just me. And whoever left the note." "What note?" Claire told her about Brenner, the envelope, the warning. More typing. Then Vasquez's voice, tight. "I'm calling the director. Don't talk to anyone. Don't leave your apartment. I'll have a team there in 20 minutes. Karen, 20 minutes. Stay put." The line went dead. Claire sat in the dark. The laptop screen cast blue light across her face. She scrolled through the files again. Found names buried in the metadata, authorization codes, digital signatures. One name kept appearing, Deputy Director Nathan Greer, DHS Office of Operations. She searched him, found an official photo, mid-50s, gray hair, sharp eyes, 20-year career, decorated, trusted, and corrupt. The knock came 18 minutes later, not the agents from the hallway. Torres. "Vasquez sent me," he said. "We're moving you again." "Where?" "Somewhere they can't track. Grab what you need. 2 minutes." Claire packed fast. Laptop, phone, the envelope, a change of clothes. They were out the door in 90 seconds. The drive took 40 minutes. No talking. Torres checked mirrors constantly. Took random turns, doubled back twice. They ended up at a motel on the edge of the city. The kind with hourly rates and no questions. "You're serious," Claire said. "Off the books means off the grid. Nobody knows we're here except Vasquez." He checked them in under a fake name. Paid cash. Led her to a room on the second floor. Inside, Vasquez was waiting. Laptop open. Files spread across the bed. "Greer's untouchable," she said without preamble. "He's got 20 years of clean service, congressional commendations, security clearances that go deeper than mine." "So how do we touch him?" "We don't. Not directly." Vasquez turned the laptop around, showed Claire a photo. Different man, younger. "This is Marcus Webb, Greer's deputy. He's the operational link. Money flows through his desk. He signs the authorizations." "Can we flip him?" "Maybe. If we can prove Greer's involved. Right now all we have are transactions and codes. No smoking gun." Claire sat on the bed. Thought. The judge who resigned, he had access to sealed evidence, financial records. What if he pulled more than we know? Vasquez considered it. "He's in protective custody, federal marshals. We could try to talk to him." "Do it." Torres made the call. Came back 5 minutes later. "He'll see us. Tomorrow morning, but only Claire." "Why only me?" "He didn't say." The safe house was nicer than the motel. Suburban neighborhood, quiet street, marshals at every entrance. Judge William Hendricks looked smaller than Claire remembered, sitting in a recliner, reading glasses perched on his nose. A man who'd traded power for safety and wasn't sure if he'd made the right choice. "Miss Whitaker," he said. Didn't stand. "Sit." She did. He studied her over his glasses. "You know why I resigned? You were part of the system, then you weren't." "Close." He set his book down. "I was part of the system because I thought I had to be. I told myself I was doing good from the inside. That compromise was necessary. That one bad ruling didn't erase 10 good ones. What changed? You." He leaned forward. "I signed Tillman's release because I was told to, by people I trusted, people who said it was necessary, that the case was weak, that the public needed stability." He paused. "Then I saw the footage, the grocery store, the precinct, and I realized I'd been lying to myself." Claire waited. "So I pulled files, everything I had access to, financial records, sealed depositions, evidence logs, and I found something the investigators missed." He reached beside his chair, pulled out a folder, handed it to Claire. She opened it. Inside, emails, printed, dated, between Greer and someone with a redacted name. The emails discussed quotas, revenue targets, expansion into new territories. They talked about Claire's arrest like it was a market test, a proof of concept. Her stomach turned. Who's the other person? She asked. Hendricks shook his head. I don't know. The name was redacted before I got the file, but the email domain is DOJ, Department of Justice. Claire's hands tightened on the folder. Someone in justice was working with Greer. Not just working with, protecting. That's why the case against Cross almost fell apart. That's why evidence kept getting challenged. Someone with authority was running interference. Do you have proof? Not enough to charge, but enough to investigate. He pointed at the folder. That's yours. Do what I couldn't. Claire looked at the old judge, saw the weight he carried, the guilt. Why didn't you come forward sooner? She asked. Because I was afraid and ashamed, and I told myself one man couldn't make a difference. He smiled bitterly. Then I watched you prove me wrong. Claire brought the folder to Vasquez. They spread the emails across the motel bed. Read them, reread them. This is conspiracy at the highest level, Vasquez said. If DOJ is involved, if someone that high up was protecting this, we can't go through normal channels. Then what do we do? Torres spoke from the doorway. We go public. Leak it. Same playbook they used on us. That's illegal, Vasquez said. So is everything they did. We're federal agents. We can't just... You can't, Claire interrupted. But I can. Vasquez turned to her. Don't. Why not? They leaked my arrest, my history, my medical records. Turnabout's fair. It'll destroy any chance of prosecution. Defense will claim tainted evidence, jury pool contamination. Everything gets thrown out. Not if we do it right. Claire pulled out her phone. We don't leak the evidence. We leak the questions. We make the media ask why a DHS deputy director has financial ties to a corrupt police network. We make them ask why DOJ didn't catch it. We make the public demand answers. Vasquez stared at her. That's risky. Everything about this has been risky. If it backfires, it won't. Claire looked at Torres. You have contacts, reporters you trust. He nodded slowly. A few. Call them. Vasquez stood, paced, stopped. If we do this, there's no going back. You become the story again, the scrutiny, the threats, all of it. Claire met her eyes. I've been the story since they put those cuffs on me. At least this time, I control the narrative. Vasquez exhaled, nodded. Okay, but we do this smart. No direct leaks. We give them breadcrumbs. Let them investigate. Let them ask the questions. How long will that take? 48 hours, maybe less if the reporter's aggressive. Then we have 48 hours to prepare for the fallout. The story broke 36 hours later. Not as a leak, as an investigation. A major newspaper ran it, front page, above the fold. Federal official, linked to corruption network, DHS deputy director under scrutiny. The article didn't reveal evidence. It asked questions about oversight, about accountability, about how millions in federal funds ended up in the hands of corrupt police, about why DOJ hadn't flagged the transfers, about whether federal officials knew and looked the other way. By noon, every network had picked it up. By evening, Congress was demanding hearings. Greer issued a statement denying everything. Called it a politically motivated smear. Threatened lawsuits, but the pressure was building. Claire watched it from the motel room, saw Greer on TV, saw the cracks forming, the way his jaw tightened when a reporter asked about specific transactions, the way his lawyer whispered in his ear before he answered. He's going to run, Torres said. Let him try, Claire replied. Running just proves guilt. Greer didn't run. He doubled down. Called a press conference. Stood at a podium with his lawyer and two character witnesses, a retired general and a former cabinet secretary. Cameras everywhere. These allegations are baseless, he said, voice steady, confident. I have served this country for 2 decades with distinction. My record speaks for itself. I will cooperate fully with any legitimate investigation, but I will not be tried in the court of public opinion by conspiracy theorists and opportunists seeking headlines. A reporter shouted a question. What about the financial records linking you to the corruption network? What records? I've seen no evidence, just accusations from unnamed sources. What about Claire Whitaker? She's not unnamed. Greer's expression hardened. Ms. Whitaker is a troubled individual who has been manipulated by people with an agenda. She's been through trauma. I sympathize with that. but I will not be held accountable for her delusions or the political theater surrounding them. Another reporter. Are you calling her a liar? I'm saying she's mistaken, and I'm saying the people using her story for their own purposes should be ashamed. Claire's phone rang. Vasquez. You watching this? Yeah. He just made a mistake. How? He went on record, public statement. If we can prove he's lying, it's not just corruption. It's perjury. False statements to the public while under investigation. So we prove it. We will, but we need the DOJ source. Without that name, the case is incomplete. Defense will argue Greer was following orders from above, that he didn't know the money was being misused. Claire thought. Hendricks said the email domain was DOJ. Can we trace it? Not without a subpoena, and we can't get a subpoena without probable cause that a judge will accept. What if we don't need a subpoena? Claire pulled up the emails on her laptop, looked at the headers, the metadata. These were printed from a digital source, but the information trail might still be embedded in the document properties. Torres moved closer. Let me see. He pulled out a portable scanner, photographed one of the emails in high resolution, ran it through analysis software that stripped layers of digital information. There, he said, pointed at a string of code barely visible in the margin. Email relay server, routing information, timestamps. If I can cross-reference this with DOJ employee access logs, can you do that? Not legally, but you can do it. He looked at Vasquez. She turned away, looked out the window. I didn't hear that, she said quietly. Torres pulled out his laptop, started typing. It took him 6 hours, breaking through firewalls, accessing personnel databases, cross-referencing login times with email metadata. When he finished, he had a name. Assistant Deputy Attorney General Diane Frazier, 28 years in DOJ, former prosecutor, rising star, current head of the criminal division, third highest ranking official in the department. Oversight authority over federal corruption cases, including theirs. She's been killing investigations before they start, Torres said. Look at this. He pulled up a list. Cases opened against police departments in 3 states, all closed within months. Insufficient evidence, procedural issues, witness problems, all during Frazier's tenure. She wasn't just protecting the system, Vasquez said. She was the system. Claire stared at the screen. At the photo of Frazier, professional, polished, the kind of woman who'd built a career on being smarter than everyone else in the room. How do we get her? Claire asked. We don't, Vasquez said. She's too insulated, too protected, too connected. We'd need a whistleblower from inside DOJ, someone willing to testify against her. And nobody's going to do that. Why not? Because she controls their careers, their futures. Cross her and you're done in federal law enforcement. Claire leaned back. Thought. What if we don't need a whistleblower? What if we make her think someone already flipped? Vasquez raised an eyebrow. You want to bluff her like you did Tillman. It worked once. Tillman was a city councilman. Frazier runs the criminal division of the Department of Justice. She's not going to panic over a suggestion. Maybe not, but Greer will. And if Greer panics, he'll reach out to her. And when he does, we'll be listening, Torres finished. Vasquez considered it. It's thin, really thin. It's all we have. If it doesn't work, we've shown our hand. They'll know we're onto Frazier. She'll bury everything deeper than we can dig. Claire met her eyes. Then we make sure it works. The message went out through the same journalist who'd broken the Greer story. A single line buried in a follow-up article about the ongoing investigation. Sources close to the investigation indicate that a senior Department of Justice official has agreed to cooperate with federal investigators in exchange for immunity. The official, whose name has not been released, allegedly has knowledge of efforts to obstruct corruption cases at the federal level. No name, no details. Just the suggestion that someone had broken ranks. Claire waited. 24 hours. 36. 48. Nothing. It's not working, Vasquez said. They're not buying it. Give it time. We don't have time. Greer's lawyers are already filing motions. They're going to claim prosecutorial misconduct, illegal surveillance. They're going to bury us in paperwork. Just wait. 72 hours after the article published, Greer made a call. Not from his phone, Not from his office. From a burner, purchased with cash at a gas station 40 miles from his home. The NSA flagged it anyway. Voice recognition, pattern analysis. Passed it to FBI counterintelligence. Torres got the transcript within an hour. The conversation was frantic, rushed. "Did you see the article?" "I saw it." Fraser's voice, clipped, tense. "Someone's talking. Nobody's talking. It's a bluff." "How do you know?" "Because if someone was cooperating, we'd already be arrested. Maybe they're building a case. Then we move faster." "The nurse. She's the linchpin. Without her testimony, everything falls apart. The recordings, the documents. None of it matters if she's not there to authenticate it." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we eliminate the problem." "You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious. We tried scaring her. We tried discrediting her. Nothing's worked. So we remove her. Permanently. Make it look like an accident, car crash, robbery gone wrong. Something clean. That's insane. It's necessary. She's destroyed everything we built. Cross is in prison. Tillman's in prison. The whole network is collapsing. And why? Because one woman wouldn't shut up. So we shut her up. For good. The call ended. Torres stopped the playback. The room was silent. Claire's hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. "They just ordered my execution," she said quietly. "They just gave us everything we need," Vasquez replied. She was already on her phone. "I'm calling the director. We're arresting both of them, tonight." "Will the recording hold up in court?" "It's a national security intercept, approved under existing surveillance warrants targeting Greer. It's admissible." Torres looked at Claire. "You need to go back into protection. Now." "No." "Claire, no. We're ending this. Tonight. All of it." Vasquez hung up her phone. "Arrest warrants are being drawn up. Teams are mobilizing. 2 hours." "I want to be there when you take them down." "Not possible." "Make it possible." Vasquez shook her head. "You're a civilian. You can't be part of an arrest operation." "Then I'll watch from a distance. But I'm not sitting in a motel room while you finish what I started." They stared at each other. A battle of wills. Finally, Vasquez sighed. "You stay in the vehicle. You don't get out. You don't interfere. Understood?" "Understood." The arrests happened simultaneously, coordinated across 2 cities. Greer at his home in Arlington, Fraser at her condo in Georgetown. Claire sat in an SUV half a block from Greer's house, Torres beside her, watching through tinted windows as federal agents surrounded the property. No sirens, no lights, just silent, professional execution. The front door opened before they could knock. Greer stepped out, hands raised. His lawyer had already told him they were coming. "This is a mistake," he said loudly. "For the cameras, for the neighbors. I've done nothing wrong." An agent read him his rights, cuffed him, led him to a vehicle. Greer's eyes scanned the street, looking for something, someone. They landed on the SUV where Claire sat. He couldn't see through the tinted glass, but somehow he knew. His expression shifted, from defiance to something else. Recognition, maybe even respect. Then he was gone. Door closed, vehicle pulling away. Torres's radio crackled. "Fraser's in custody. No resistance." Claire exhaled, felt the tension drain from her shoulders. "It's over," Torres said. This time, she believed him. The news broke within the hour. A DHS deputy director and a senior DOJ official arrested on federal charges: conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice, abuse of authority. The recording leaked by morning. Someone inside the investigation, maybe intentionally, maybe not, sent it to the press. Greer and Fraser's voices. Crystal clear. Discussing Claire's murder like it was a business decision. The public reaction was immediate. Outrage, protests, demands for accountability at every level of government. The Attorney General held a press conference, announced a complete review of the criminal division, promised reforms, promised transparency. The DHS director resigned. The deputy director position was eliminated entirely, restructured under new oversight. And Claire's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, lawyers, advocacy groups, movie producers, everyone wanted her story. She ignored them all, sat in the motel room, watched the news. Felt something she hadn't felt in months. Peace. Not closure, not yet, but the knowledge that the worst was over. Torres sat beside her. What now? Now I go back to my life. You think it'll be that simple? No, but I'm going to try anyway. Sat. Greer and Fraser's trials were expedited. Federal judges fast-tracked them. The evidence was overwhelming. The recording, the financial documents, testimony from Colfax, from Hayes, from Martinez. Both took plea deals, agreed to cooperate, named names. The revelations kept coming. More officials, more precincts, more states. The corruption network they'd built spanned 12 states, hundreds of officers, dozens of officials. It took 18 months to dismantle completely, but it was dismantled. Greer got 30 years, Fraser got 25, Cross got 40, Tillman got 35. Colfax served 3 years and disappeared into witness protection. Delroy lost everything, disbarred, bankrupt, facing civil suits from victims, and Precinct 18 was demolished. The building torn down, replaced with a community center named after Marcus, the young man who'd died in custody 3 years earlier. His mother cut the ribbon at the opening ceremony. Claire stood beside her. He would have liked this, the woman said quietly. I think so too, Claire replied. Mom, Governor Cross's sentencing happened on a cold morning in February. Claire didn't attend. She'd testified months earlier, said everything she needed to say, but she watched the news coverage from her apartment. Cross stood before the judge, no longer defiant, no longer powerful, just an old man in an orange jumpsuit. You betrayed the public trust, the judge said. You weaponized the justice system for personal gain. You authorized violence against innocent people, and you showed no remorse. The gavel struck. 40 years. No parole. Cross was led away. He didn't look at the cameras, didn't make a statement, just walked out of public life and into a cell. Claire turned off the TV, sat in the silence. It was done. Truly done. All of them. Greer, Fraser, Cross, Tillman, Colfax, behind bars. The system they'd built collapsed. The network dismantled. And 43 names cleared, records expunged, compensation paid. Not enough to erase what had happened, but something. 3 months later, Claire returned to Riverside General full-time. No security detail, no federal agents shadowing her, no reporters waiting in the parking lot, just her and the work. The hospital held a small ceremony, presented her with an award for distinguished service. The director gave a speech about courage and integrity. Claire accepted it, said a few words, thanked her colleagues, sat down. After the ceremony, a nurse she barely knew approached her. I just wanted to say thank you, the woman said. My brother was arrested by Precinct 18 2 years ago. False charges. He spent 6 months in jail before they dropped the case. He lost his job, his apartment. Almost lost his mind. She paused. Your case got his record expunged. He's got a job now, an apartment, a life. Because of you. Claire didn't know what to say. The woman smiled, walked away. Claire stood there, let it sink in. This was why it mattered. Not the headlines, not the convictions, but the lives, the people, the second chances. That afternoon, she went back to the ER, put on her scrubs. Checked the board, trauma coming in, motorcycle accident, critical injuries. She grabbed her kit, moved toward the bay. This was what she knew, what she was good at, what mattered. The patient arrived, early 20s, male, unconscious, massive bleeding. Claire went to work, assessing, stabilizing, calling for blood, for the surgeon, for everything they had. The team moved around her, coordinated, efficient. 20 minutes later, the patient was stable, on his way to surgery. Claire stepped back, pulled off her gloves, took a breath. One of the residents looked at her. Nice work. She nodded, moved to the next patient. This was her place. Not courtrooms, not press conferences. Here, where she could help people, one at a time, face to face. Where the work was immediate and real and mattered in ways that didn't need explaining. A week later, Vasquez called. They met at the same coffee shop where they'd met before. Vasquez brought a folder. Final report, she said, slid it across. Everything's wrapped. All the trials, All the investigations. It's done. Claire opened it, saw lists, convictions, sentences, reforms, new laws passed, police accountability measures, independent oversight boards, mandatory body cameras, whistleblower protections. How much of this was because of the case? Claire asked. Most of it. Your story gave legislators cover, gave activists ammunition, gave victims hope. Vasquez paused. There's something else. She pulled out another document. Job offer, Department of Justice, Director of Witness Protection and Advocacy. Claire read it, set it down. I'm a nurse. You're more than that. I know what I am, and I know where I belong. Vasquez smiled. I told them you'd say that. You're not disappointed? No. The world needs people who know their purpose. She pulled the document back. But if you ever change your mind, I won't. They finished their coffee, talked about other things, life, family, the weather, normal things. When they parted, Vasquez hugged her. You did good, Claire. We did good. No, you started it. The rest of us just followed. Bad. 6 months later, Claire was working a night shift when a young woman came into the ER. Early 20s. Bruises on her arms, split lip, fear in her eyes. Claire recognized that look. She'd seen it in the mirror once. I need help, the woman whispered. Claire led her to a private exam room, closed the door, treated the injuries. What happened? She asked gently. The woman hesitated, then spoke. I was arrested 2 days ago. They said I resisted, but I didn't. They hurt me, and they said if I reported it, they'd arrest me again. Make it worse. Claire's chest tightened. Where? Precinct 9, across town. Different precinct, different officers, but the same playbook. Claire pulled out her phone. Not to call Vasquez, not anymore. She called an organization that had formed in the aftermath of everything. A coalition of lawyers, advocates, former victims. People who'd decided the system needed more than oversight. It needed warriors. Within an hour, the woman had a lawyer, a case number, a support network, people who believed her and would fight for her. Claire sat with her until the fear started to fade, until she understood she wasn't alone. Before the woman left, she turned back. Why are you doing this? Claire thought about it, about the grocery store, the precinct, the trials, everything that had happened. Because someone did it for me, she said, and because the system only changes when people refuse to let it win. The woman nodded, tears in her eyes. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just promise you won't give up. I promise. Yeah. A year after her arrest, Claire was invited to speak at a national conference on criminal justice reform. Advocates, activists, survivors, legislators. She almost declined, but Torres convinced her. People need to hear from you, he said, not as a victim, as someone who fought back and won. Claire stood at the podium, looked at the audience, hundreds of faces. Some she recognized from news coverage of other cases, other victims, other survivors. She told her story, the real version, not sanitized, not heroic. She talked about the fear, the doubt, the moment she almost quit. I'm not special, she said. I'm not brave. I'm someone who got arrested for something I didn't do and decided I wasn't going to let them erase me. That's it. That's the whole story. She paused, looked around. The system isn't broken by accident. It's designed this way. Designed to protect people with power and punish people without it. And the only way it changes is when enough people say no. When enough people refuse to disappear. When enough people stand up and fight back. She gripped the podium. You don't need a law degree to do that. You don't need connections or money or power. You just need to refuse, to document, to tell your story, to find one other person who believes you and build from there. Her voice got stronger. They want you to think you're alone, that nobody cares, that nothing will change. But that's a lie. People do care. Things do change. It just takes one person standing up, and then another, and another, until there's too many to ignore. The room was silent. I was nobody. A nurse in scrubs buying groceries, and they tried to destroy me. But I'm still here. And so are 43 other people whose cases got overturned. And so are hundreds more whose cases are being reviewed because of the reforms that came from this. She looked directly at the audience. You are not alone. Your story matters. and the system only wins if you let it. Someone started clapping, then another, then the entire room. Claire stepped away from the podium, hands shaking, heart pounding, but she'd said what needed to be said. 2 years after everything started, Claire stood in the parking lot of the grocery store where she'd been arrested. She'd avoided it for months, then years. But eventually she decided it was time. She walked inside, through the aisles, past the frozen food section where they'd slammed her down. The floor was clean, no trace of what had happened. But she remembered, every second. She picked up eggs, bread, milk, moved to the register. The cashier was young, couldn't have been more than 19. She smiled at Claire. Find everything okay? Yeah, thanks. Claire paid, took her bags, walked outside, stood in the parking lot, looked at the store. She thought about the officers, where they were now. Most in prison, some still fighting appeals that would never succeed. She thought about Tillman, Cross, Greer, Frazier, all behind bars, all stripped of everything they'd built. She thought about the people on the list, the 43 names. Most had moved on. Some were still healing, but all of them were free. And she thought about the young woman from the ER and all the others who'd come after, the ones who'd walked in scared and walked out with hope. Because someone had believed them, someone had fought for them. That was the real victory, not the convictions, not the headlines, but the lives. The proof that one person could matter. Claire got in her car, started the engine, drove home. Her apartment was quiet, just her space, her life. She made dinner, turned on the TV, saw a story about new federal legislation, stronger whistleblower protections, harsher penalties for official misconduct, small steps, but steps. Her phone buzzed. Torres. Drinks this weekend? She smiled, typed back. Only if you're buying. Deal. And I've got someone I want you to meet. Another case. Woman who needs advice. Claire hesitated, then typed. I'm not a lawyer. You're better. You're someone who survived. That's what she needs to see. Claire stared at the message, then typed. Okay, send me the details. That Saturday she met Torres at a quiet bar downtown. He wasn't alone. The woman with him was in her 30s, nervous, kept looking at the door like she expected someone to walk in. Claire, this is Amanda, Torres said. Amanda, this is the person I told you about. They shook hands. Amanda's grip was weak, scared. Torres said you might be able to help me, Amanda said quietly. I can try. What happened? Amanda told her story. False arrest, evidence planted, coerced confession, a prosecutor who threatened her family if she didn't plead guilty. Claire listened, didn't interrupt, let Amanda get it all out. When she finished, Claire asked, Do you have documentation? Anything in writing? Some. They made me sign things, but I kept copies, just in case. Good. That's good. Claire looked at Torres. Can you connect her with Vasquez's team? Already done. But she needs more than lawyers. She needs to know it's possible to win. Claire turned back to Amanda. It is possible. But it's hard, really hard. They'll attack you. They'll try to discredit you. They'll make you feel like you're crazy for fighting. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. I'm so tired. I know. I was too. But tired doesn't mean defeated. It just means you've been fighting, and fighting means you haven't given up. What if I lose? Then you lose knowing you tried. But you might not lose. I didn't, and neither did a lot of other people. Amanda wiped her eyes. How did you do it? Claire thought about it. About everything. The arrests, the trials, the fear, the victories. I stopped waiting for someone to save me, she said, and I started documenting everything, every conversation, every threat, every inconsistency. I made them prove their case instead of making me prove my innocence. That's it? That's it. Document. Find people who believe you. Don't give up. It's not complicated. It's just hard. Amanda nodded slowly. Okay, I can do that. I know you can. They talked for another hour. Claire gave Amanda her number, told her to call if she needed anything. Advice, support, just someone to listen. When Amanda left, Torres looked at Claire. You're good at this. At what? Giving people hope. I'm just telling them the truth. Same thing. Amanda. Over the next year, Claire helped 6 more people. Not officially. Not as a lawyer or an advocate, just as someone who'd been through it and survived. She gave advice, made introductions, shared what she'd learned. Some of the cases went to trial, some settled, some were dismissed. But all of them fought back, and that mattered, because the system only changed when people refused to accept it. 3 years after her arrest, Claire was offered a position teaching at a local nursing school, a course on medical ethics and patient advocacy. She almost said no. Teaching wasn't her thing. But then she thought about it, about all the nurses who'd graduate and go into a system that would try to break them, who'd see injustice and have to decide whether to speak up. She said yes. The first day of class, she stood in front of 30 students, mostly young, a few older, all looking at her expectantly. "I'm Claire Whitaker," she said. "I've been an ER nurse for 18 years. And 3 years ago, I was arrested in a grocery store for a crime I didn't commit." She told them the story. Not all of it, just enough. "I'm not telling you this to scare you," she said. "I'm telling you because at some point in your career, you're going to see something wrong, something unethical, something illegal, and you're going to have to decide what to do about it." She looked around the room. "Some of you will look away. Some of you will tell yourself it's not your problem, and some of you will speak up. And if you speak up, it's going to be hard, really hard. You might lose your job, your reputation, your sense of safety." She paused. "But you'll also save lives. Maybe not directly, maybe not immediately, but you'll be part of something bigger than yourself. You'll be part of change, and that matters." The students were silent, listening. "So my advice is this: document everything. Build relationships with people you trust. Know your rights. And when the moment comes, and it will come, don't look away." One student raised a hand. "But what if we're wrong? What if we speak up and we're mistaken?" "Then you're mistaken. But you're mistaken because you cared, because you tried. And that's better than being silent because you were scared." 5 years after her arrest, Precinct 18's demolition was complete. The community center that replaced it opened with a ceremony. Claire was invited to speak. She declined. This wasn't about her. But she attended, stood in the back, watched as Marcus's mother cut the ribbon, watched as kids poured into the building, basketball courts, computer labs, meeting rooms, a place built on the ruins of corruption, a place that would help people instead of hurting them. Torres found her in the crowd. "You should be up there." "No, this is theirs, the people who lost someone, who suffered. I was just the spark." "Some spark." She smiled. "How's the new job?" Torres had been promoted, running a task force on police accountability, working with precincts across the country to implement reforms. "Exhausting," he said. "But good. We're making progress. Slow, but real. That's all we can ask for." "What about you? Still at the hospital?" "Still there, still teaching, still helping people one at a time." "No plans to do something bigger?" Claire looked at the community center, at the kids playing, at the families gathering. "This is big enough," she said. 7 years after her arrest, Claire was finishing a shift when she got a call from a number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer, then did. "Is this Claire Whitaker?" "Yes." "This is Jessica Ruiz. You don't know me, but you helped my aunt, Amanda, a few years ago." Claire remembered, the woman from the bar, the one Torres had introduced her to. "I remember. How is she?" "She's good. Really good. She won her case, got her record cleared, got compensation. She's rebuilding her life." A pause. "She wanted me to call you, to say thank you, and to tell you that she's helping other people now, the way you helped her." Claire felt something warm in her chest. "I'm glad." "She also wanted me to tell you something else. She said to tell you that you were right, that fighting is hard, but losing without fighting is harder, and she's glad she fought. Tell her I'm proud of her." "I will." Another pause. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Was it worth it? Everything you went through, the threats, the trials, all of it. Was it worth it?" Claire thought about it, really thought, about the fear, the sleepless nights, the moments she thought she wouldn't survive, but also about the convictions, the reforms, the lives changed, about Amanda, about the 43 names, about every person who'd walked into the ER scared and walked out with hope. "Yeah," she said, "it was worth it." 10 years after her arrest, Claire retired from Riverside General. Not because she had to, because she wanted to. She'd done enough, saved enough lives, taught enough students. It was time to rest. The hospital threw her a party, colleagues, former students, patients she'd saved over the years. They gave speeches, told stories, presented her with a plaque. Distinguished service, 28 years, she accepted it, said a few words, thanked everyone. When it was over, she walked out of the hospital for the last time, stood in the parking lot, looked up at the building. This had been her life, her purpose, her contribution. And it had been enough. She got in her car, drove home. That night, she sat on her couch, turned on the news, saw a story about a new police accountability bill passing Congress, stricter oversight, harsher penalties for misconduct, named after Marcus, the young man who'd died in custody. The anchor interviewed one of the bill's sponsors, a congresswoman who'd been inspired by Claire's case. "This legislation exists because ordinary people refuse to accept injustice," the congresswoman said, "because people like Claire Whitaker stood up when it would have been easier to sit down. And because we learned that change doesn't come from the top, it comes from the bottom, from people who demand better." Claire turned off the TV, sat in the silence. She thought about the journey, about where it started, a grocery store, handcuffs, the decision not to disappear. She thought about where it led, trials, convictions, laws, lives changed. And she thought about what it meant. Not that she was special, not that she was a hero, but that anyone could do what she did. Anyone could refuse, anyone could document, anyone could fight. The system survived because people believed they were powerless. But power wasn't given, it was taken. One small act at a time, one refusal, one truth, one person standing when everyone expected them to fall. She'd proven that. And somewhere out there, someone else was learning it too. Someone else was being pushed down, being told to shut up, being erased. And maybe, just maybe, they'd remember her story. Remember that one person could matter, and they'd stand up. And the cycle would continue, not because of her, because of them. Because power didn't belong to the system, it belonged to the people, and it always had. Claire smiled, closed her eyes. Tomorrow, she'd wake up to a quieter life. No shifts, no emergencies, no lives hanging in the balance. But tonight, she let herself feel it. The weight of everything she'd carried, the lives she'd touched, the change she'd sparked. She'd been nobody, a nurse in scrubs, buying eggs, and she'd changed the world, not alone, never alone. But she'd started it, and that was enough, more than enough. It was everything.